tell me more about the work of Justice for Iran?
Justice for Iran was established in 2010 with the aim to address and eradicate impunity, which is prevalent in Iran, and enable the Iranian authorities to perpetrate gross human rights abuses. So we use all available mechanisms to hold the perpetrators accountable. And unlike many other human rights organizations, we do not only document the abuse, the human rights violation, but also we gather information about the perpetrators. So we have a data bank of the perpetrators, and also we work closely with the victims in finding ways to not only to publicize their voices and give them voices, but also to try to create some sort of remedy.
And can you tell us more about the enforced disappearances in Iran? Did they targeted a certain community, or did they confine to a certain time period? And what's the all over number that you were and other organizations were able to document?
If we talk about enforced disappearance as a state policy, which was committed in a widespread and systematic manner, so we cannot say anything beyond the period of the 1980s. A decade after the 1979 revolution. So during the 1980s, thousands of people who were mostly political activists, but also there were the cases of people with religious minority background and ethnic minority background were arbitrarily arrested or kidnapped, and after spending days or years in prison, were secretly executed and buried in unmarked and sometimes mass graves. So the concept of enforced disappearance is used by Justice for Iran to frame those incidents, mass atrocities in Iran. So it is quite to most of the Iranian human rights community members look into the mass atrocity in the 80s as extrajudicial killings. Mm-hmm. But we found the definition of enforced disappearance more appealing to the families, because it's a continuous violations, and families are still suffering because there has not been any governmental acknowledge to what their beloved one went through, and also there has not been any kind of remedy or reparation action by the government. So as far as the families don't know anything about they are uncertain, completely uncertain about the fate and whereabouts of their missing beloved ones, because they were only informed by a telephone call, or sometimes they just saw the names of the beloved ones on the newspapers as those who were executed. Mm-hmm. And the bodies of their children were never delivered to them, and also the place of burial is unknown to them until now. So until this situation is still continuing, we think that the victims of the 80s mass atrocities are the victims of enforced disappearance. And regarding the numbers, so what we know and what has been documented so far is at least 5,000 political prisoners were massacred in the summer of 1988. 5,000, and it's just one incident. And also during the 80s, we don't have exact figure of thousands of people who went missing or disappeared or were victims of extrajudicial and secret killings, but because different organizations have different statistics, but at least we can speak about at least 10,000 people from different backgrounds.
And that one incident you said that happened in 1988, right?
Summer of 1918, over the course of 2 months, in August, September 1988.
These were like opposition groups who were like political prisoners in one prison? Or?
The massacre happened in all over Iran, in different prisons, but inside the prisons or in some places that the prisoners were taken to. The victims were all were political prisoners, mainly followers, sympathizers, and members of an organization called the People of Mujahideen of Iran, and also those who work with the leftist, Marxist, communist organizations.
So you mentioned that you have a database for perpetrators, and you try to expand accountability in Iran. How your work on perpetrators is perceived by the Iranian authorities?
So, as you can imagine, the Iranian government is completely hostile to us. So because when the culture of impunity is prevailed, every single move towards accountability is taken as the act of enemy. So to them, we are enemies, just enemies. And so they have to they categorize us as enemy, and they have applied some sort of hostile strategy towards us. For example, speaking of the data bank, so our website has been hacked by the Iranian cyber army many times, especially during the times of the election or some crucial times in Iran. So we are under constant attacks by the Iranian cyber army, but in those special dates and times, so the attacks are more severe and aggressive. So this is only one of the strategies that they adopt against us.
And you're based in London, but you're cooperating with other human rights organizations in Iran, I guess, right?
So it's been quite a few years that it's not possible for any human rights activists or groups to assemble with each other in Iran. So we can't speak about human rights organizations in Iran at the moment, and it's been, as I said, at least after 2009, which was the severe crackdown against the civil society. So all of the human rights organizations were had to just close down. So now we have individuals as human rights defenders inside Iran, and also we consider the families, the relatives of the victims of enforced disappearance as human rights defenders because they are demanding their rights for truth and justice. And these are only individuals or unofficial networks of people who we work with. But yes, we are based outside Iran, like many other Iranian human rights organizations. So the type of the work that we do, it's not possible to be carried out inside Iran.
And I wanted to ask about the families of disappeared people too. So what they can do to find out more about what happened to their beloved ones, and how, I guess you say that they have some commemoration activities, how these are perceived by Iranian authorities.
So the first generation, the mothers, who are unfortunately dying because it's been more than 3 decades that they're struggling. So mothers and fathers are dying, unfortunately, and also the siblings, sisters and brothers, they are still alive, but they are not as courageous as mothers and fathers because they have their own children and they have to, and the authorities have threatened them for years, so they are afraid of their own children and their own families. And also the second generation, some of them know little things about what happened in the past to their family or relatives. Some of them, for example, the children of enforced disappeared know about what happened to their parents, but they don't want to take any action because either they're afraid or they are too hopeless. So these kind of commemorandum or the anniversaries, now we can see through the pictures and the videos that are sent to us by the families, you can see that you can barely see the new generations amongst them, the new generation people. So this is one challenge, and so that we have to think about the strategies to overcome it. And also the other challenge is that the security situation is deteriorated in Iran, and so any kind of speaking out about what happened in the past is now more dangerous than ever, at least than when you are back in 90s or 2000s. There was relatively easier to speak about what happened in the past, but however there are opportunities that we shouldn't miss them. For example, in 3 months ago, or it was 4 months ago, an audio file which was recorded 24 years ago. Yeah, the audio file was recorded 28 years ago. It's a meeting between the deputy supreme leader at the time and the members of the Death Commission who were responsible for the 1988 massacre. So the meeting, because the deputy leader at the time was completely opposed to the massacre. Mm-hmm. And so he summoned the members of the Death Commission and he tried to stop them. And so the audio file, which is 1 hour, revealed the details of the massacre, who decided about that, how it was operated, and how it was justified to the public, how it was hidden first from the public and then justified. So that video file came, so when it became public 4 months ago, it was like the public reacted to it in a very good manner. So because so the media covered it because it was like the deputy supreme leader at the time and the other officials. It was not, for the first time, it was not only the families who talked about and the survivors who talked about the massacres, it was the officials. So that was an undeniable evidence to what had been denied for years. So, and then after revealing that audio file, the number of the families who wanted to be more involved and who came forward has been increased. So this is the good opportunity that I think the organizations like Justice for Iran need to just take it very seriously and revise their strategies upon that.
Thank you very much.